good evening members, officers and members of the public who may happen to be watching online. Welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'm not Councillor Harbour, I'm Councillor Sutcliffe, the Vice Chairman, standing in for the Chairman due to a little bit of a technical problem at tonight's meeting. But hopefully before we get very far into the script, the Chairman will get back logged in and take over. This meeting is, as usual, being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel and will be archived for later viewing. At this point, I now need to ask the Democratic Services Manager if, Vicky, you could take a roll call of members present to confirm who's here tonight. Are you available to proceed with that, Vicky?
Thank you. It's myself, Guy, tonight, Councillor Sutcliffe.
Right.
So I'll take you through the roll call if that's all right. So starting with Councillor Barrett.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Brockbank.
Thank you.
Present.
Councillor Brown.
I'm here.
Councillor Foster.
Present.
Councillor Hanley.
Present.
Councillor Harbour, we know, is having a few technical issues. Councillor Heseltine.
Present.
Councillor Hull.
Present.
Councillor Ireton.
Present.
Councillor Jackwin.
Present.
Councillor Liz.
Present.
Councillor Madeley.
Present.
Councillor Mercer.
Present.
Councillor Metcalfe.
Present.
Councillor Morby.
Present.
Councillor Morell.
Present.
Councillor Mulligan.
Present.
Councillor Myers.
Present.
Councillor Noland.
Present.
Councillor Place.
Present.
Councillor Pringle.
Present.
Councillor Rose.
Present.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
Present.
Councillor Soloway.
Present.
Councillor Staveley.
Present.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Present.
Councillor Wheeler.
Present.
And Councillor Whittaker. Okay, no Councillor Whittaker, I don't think at the moment. I thought I had seen him. Councillor Whittaker, if you're present, if you could indicate that you're here at the meeting. I think you might be muted at the moment. Okay, perhaps when Councillor Whittaker is able to unmute himself, you can make yourself known to the meeting, Councillor Whittaker. Do you want to move on to item 1, Councillor Sutcliffe?
Yes, we'll move on now to follow the usual agenda to apologies for absence, please.
There are no apologies for absence, Councillor Sutcliffe.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2 then, minutes of the council meeting. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of January are confirmed as correct. Obviously, I can't move them and second them, guys, so perhaps we can find some other council.
I'll second them, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Myers.
We might have Councillor Harbour in here, Chair.
I beg your pardon?
We might have Councillor Harbour in here, Chair.
Has Councillor Harbour got back in?
Councillor Harbour seems to have rejoined us, but we're still experiencing some issues with his audio. So I think we probably need to proceed with the meeting at the moment.
Right, well, at the present time, I've got the minutes moved and seconded. Can I assume that there are no objections from members and move on to the rest of the agenda? No hands up. Right. In that case, then we move on to item 3, public participation. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak, Guy?
No, there are no members of the public in attendance this evening. Councillor Sutcliffe?
Right. In that case, we move on to, I've got down here on this script as if there's no people wishing to speak. There's Councillor Foster. Do you wish to respond? But he hasn't spoken to anything yet, has he?
If I put that, my apologies, Councillor Sutcliffe. I think the next item's item number 4, declarations of interest.
Well, I've just seen Councillor Harbour's face. Is he able to speak yet, or shall I continue?
No, Councillor Harbour's audio is still not working at the moment.
Right, okay, then we'll just proceeding with the usual agenda. Next item is declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare any interest? No hands gone up, Guy?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Right, we'll move on to item 5 then. Council, sorry, I've got to turn 2 pages here. Next item is we have the minutes of the policy committee for confirmation. Once these have been moved and seconded, I will ask members if they wish to debate each item in turn. If there is no debate, we will move to the vote on that minute. So the first one is policy treble 19, the revenue budget. Councillor Foster, do you move this particular item?
I'll move them all, Chair, if that's all right, all the items. Obviously, the revenue budget comes next.
Yeah, just if I could just come in at this point, Councillor Sutcliffe. So just to clarify, so minute policy 1119, that's the revenue budget.
Yes.
Also, will be considered alongside the council tax levels report. So that's at agenda item 6.
Yeah.
We'll go. I think at this stage we need to ask. Would probably ask Councillor Foster whether he'd move the recommendations of the policy committee meeting held on the 26th of January.
Fine, well, if you can move the recommendation, Councillor Foster, then we can move to the debate.
Happy to move them, Chair.
Happy to second them, Chair.
Sorry, I got a seconder there, did I? Yes, right.
Yeah.
In that case, then, does anybody wish to speak in connection with those 2 items?
So the first item that would need members to debate is policy 1120, and that's the capital programme 2021-2022.
Right. Do I need to get a mover and seconder for that now?
No, they don't need to be moved and seconded because Councillor Foster has already moved the recommendations of the policy committee meeting. So it's just if any members wish to debate policy 1120, and that's the capital programme 2021-22.
No hands going up, Guy. So I presume that there is perhaps no member wishing to debate it.
If there's no one wishing to debate it, then we can. I can move to the vote in that case.
Yes, if you could proceed, please, then with a recorded vote.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sutcliffe. So this is in relation to policy 1120, the capital programme 2021-2022. So if you could indicate whether you're for, against or abstain. Councillor Barrett?
For.
Councillor Brockbank?
For.
Councillor Brown? Sorry, can you just repeat that, Councillor Brown?
Abstain.
Abstain. Councillor Foster?
For.
Councillor Hanley?
For.
Councillor Harbour, I think we've still got some technical issues there, so we can come back to Councillor Harbour. Councillor Heseltine?
Abstain.
Councillor Hull?
For.
Councillor Ireton?
For.
Councillor Jackwin?
For.
Councillor Liz?
For.
Councillor Madeley?
For.
Councillor Mercer?
For.
Councillor Metcalfe?
For.
Councillor Morby?
For.
Councillor Morell?
For.
Councillor Mulligan?
For.
Councillor Myers?
For.
Councillor Noland?
For.
Councillor Place?
For.
Councillor Pringle?
For.
Councillor Rose?
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth?
For.
Councillor Soloway?
For.
Councillor Staveley?
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe?
Or
Councillor Wheeler?
For.
And Councillor Whitaker. No, still nothing from Councillor Whitaker.
Fine. Okay then, Guy, presumably now we move on to policy 11121, the
That's
council
correct.
plan. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, so it's whether any members wish to debate policy 1121.
No sign of any hands going up, so we can presumably proceed to a vote on that one then, Guy.
Yes, if no members wish to speak on that item, we can move to the vote. So that's policy 1121. That's the council plan 2021-2022. If you could indicate whether you wish to vote for, against, or abstain. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbron. Okay, Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Mercer.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
For.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Or
Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Thank you. And Councillor Whitaker? No. Okay. That's carried. Thank you.
okay, well, having completed that item, members will now move on to policy 1122. Does any member wish to debate three items? There's policy 1222. It's a treasury manager strategy statement, the minimum revenue provision statement, and finally the annual investment strategy. I haven't got any hands showing yet. Does anybody wish to speak?
No.
No, they don't seem to wish to speak, guys. So could you now proceed with a recorded vote on that item, 1122?
Okay. Yep. So same again. If you could indicate whether you wish to vote for, against, or abstain. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
Abstain.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbron. No. Councillor Heseltine.
For.
Councillor Hull.
For.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
For.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Mercer.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
For.
Councillor Mulligan.
For.
Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
Abstain.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
For.
Councillor Rose.
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Soloway.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
Or
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whitaker? No. Okay, that one's carried as well.
right, but in the absence of a vote from Councillor Whitaker, we'll now proceed to the next item, which is policy 1123. Does any member wish to debate the pay policy statement for 2021 and 2022? Anybody wish to debate it? I don't have any hands showing here, Guy, so I think we can perhaps proceed with a recorded vote on this one as well when you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Sutcliffe. Councillor Barrett.
For.
Councillor Brockbank.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Foster,
4,
Councillor Hanley,
4,
Councillor Harbron, Councillor Heseltine,
4,
Councillor Hull,
4,
Councillor Ireton,
4,
Councillor Jackwin,
4,
Councillor Liz,
4,
Councillor Madeley,
4,
Councillor Mercer,
4,
Councillor Metcalfe,
4,
Councillor Morby,
4,
Councillor Morell,
4,
Councillor Mulligan,
4,
Councillor Myers,
4,
Councillor Noland,
4,
Councillor Place,
4,
Councillor Pringle,
4,
Councillor Rose,
4,
Councillor Shuttleworth,
4,
Councillor Soloway,
4,
Councillor Staveley,
4,
Councillor Sutcliffe,
4,
Councillor Wheeler,
4,
and Councillor Whittaker. No, okay, that one's carried as well.
okay, thank you, Guy. We'll now move on to item 6, which is the council tax levies for 2021 to 2022. Now, this item requires council to consider both the recommendations of Policy Committee at Policy treble-19 and the report of the Chief Finance Officer on council tax levels. This was circulated separately and provides a notification of precepts for North Yorkshire County Council, Police, Fire, Town, and finally Parish Councils. We will be taking separate recorded votes on the Policy Committee recommendations on the council's tax levels of support. Now, Policy with treble-19 has already been moved and seconded. So, Councillor Mulligan, would you move the recommendations contained in the Chief Officer's Financial Officer's report on council tax levels, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I will move those recommendations, which are in paragraph 2. The proposal is that we raise council tax by £5 for the year, so it will be a total of £182.21. This was approved at policy, and I think anyone who attended the member seminar that was conducted by Richard Way will know that this is a significant part of our budget. This has been the case for some years now. The government has withdrawn its revenue support grant, and so it's the government's aim that local authorities be funded by council tax and business rates in the main. And that is why this is a critical sort of area for us. And I think the Craven ratepayers get good value for money from the council tax they pay. And I will move those recommendations in paragraph 2. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, Councillor Mulligan. We'll now move on to the group leaders who'll have the right to speak on that, starting first with Councillor Soloway.
Councillor Sutcliffe, sorry, if I could just come in as one. If they have been moved, if we could just have someone to second the recommendations for the council tax levels report, that'd be really helpful.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, do we need to take a vote on it, Guy, or do we allow the leaders to speak first?
No, if the opposition leaders wish to make their statements, that's absolutely fine.
Right, well, I've already invited Councillor Soloway. So if you wish to speak, Councillor Soloway, could you now unmute yourself?
I have done. Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, another budget to be approved. It's been a long time since I've ever given any sort of opposition to a budget at this council, and I intend to support it tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff who've prepared this, and also for the seminar. I always felt that we've been kept very, very fully informed as members on budget setting, and we've taken an active part of it. It just reflects the pressures that local councils are on. It's always been this case with we're almost like a rock and a hard place budget. I think I said this last year, and in fact I was thinking back to about this time last year when I think Councillor Foster stood up and spoke about that there was this something on the horizon that might affect us. I think his words were, well, we might have to be a bit more flexible because you never know, COVID might come along and we'll have to close all our car parks. And we were sitting there thinking, well, that's probably a distant. It happened very much. So the other thing I wanted to sort of speak about really is we've been involved in the budget setting process, very much involved with the seminars and the staff who have involved us. There's two growth bits in which I fully support. One is to do with shared ownership, and the other is to do with the council competing with the commercial sector in terms of collecting commercial waste. And the other two things that these have got in common is that they've both been extensively looked at by Select Committee. So we can honestly say that Select Committee have had a very much an input into this budget, well into two growth bids there. And I'm very pleased to see the engine room of the council, which is notably Select, has been involved very much on this. So no intention of doing anything else than supporting this budget. I think we're, like all councils of all political shades, we're in a tough situation. We've got to make the best of it, and I support the budget.
Thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Soloway. Councillor Madeley, you're the next name on my list. Is Councillor Madeley unmuted, Guy?
Let me just have a quick. Councillor Madeley, do you wish to unmute yourself?
Well, could I perhaps move to Councillor Brown, who's got his hand up anyway, and then come back to Councillor Madeley a little later, perhaps?
Yeah, okay.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be fairly brief. Basically, I can't vote for a budget constructed in quite such difficult circumstances. We're being asked to depend more and more upon rates and local ratepayers. And yet, if you think about the circumstances in which particularly local businesses at the moment, I mean, how can we possibly be asking local businesses to increase their share of contributions to us and to carry heavy burdens in the circumstances where they badly need them reduced? And that's nothing to do with the fault of this council. I agree with everything that everybody said so far. I do think the briefings have been good, and I would actually praise the leading group for its work in constructing a budget in such incredibly difficult circumstances. So I won't vote against it in respect to that work, but I can't possibly vote for it. That's why I shall be abstaining.
Thank you for those sentiments, Councillor Brown. If Councillor Madeley, Guy, has still got a technical problem.
No. Oh, I'm here.
Right, you're with us.
Well,
Over to you,
really?
Councillor Madeley.
yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. I want to praise the actual Conservative group and the council for being over a year now. We're a very difficult time. This has been very difficult for councils, for council workers, and for everybody else. But I think the council has done very well to keep the services that they have. They've been very helpful to businesses, large and small, to get the benefits and grants which they are allowed. That's basically what I want to say. And nobody knew how difficult this could be, but next year I think will be even more difficult in actually like regard to how we come out of this. And we've had the plans from the government this week, and these are not going to be easy, and businesses will find it so much difficult, but people will find it difficult. When the furlough stops, and it will, that is the time where people, residents, whatever need our help, more, because that is when the jobs will go, and that is when people will find it extremely hard to cope. But for this budget, there's nothing else the council could do. The government has made it clear of how like they're going to finance local government. I don't, you know, there is no money, so we will move forward, and hopefully the council, with the budget they have for next year, will be able to help people. Thank you.
Thank you for that contribution, Councillor Brown. At this point, it's down to me to ask if any other members wish to speak. And I already have Councillor Foster's hand up. Just before you speak, Councillor Foster, Councillor Brown, you've got your hand still up. I presume that's in error, is it perhaps? Councillor Foster, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. It's a bit backing up what the members of the opposition have said, and Councillor Mulligan, you know, we have ended up with a balanced budget here, and that's in no way short-term thanks to previous management of the council finances and, you know, by across the council, and also the fact of good work by the officers, backed up by some certain government support that's come our way this year. Otherwise, we'd have been miles away from being able to set a budget and would have really seriously eaten into reserves. We're in a place to go forward, we're in a place to help businesses, we're in a place to keep doing what we need to do in order to run the council. I think if we're going on to the coronavirus stuff, you know, the staff, as always, as well, was saying here, have been excellent through this. I can't thank them enough, along with the people of Craven, for how they've mucked in and done the stuff and are now going and getting jabbed. Like I say, we've got a budget here. It is a rise. We don't really want to put that on the public of Craven at this time, because some of them have been through, you know, and are going through hard periods, and there is chance of job losses. At the end of this, hopefully, we are going to have a tourist season. I would just point to Councillor Brown's comment about businesses. This is not business tax. This is not business rates or NNDR. This is on households and the actual residents of Craven, not the businesses of Craven, which we aren't penalising to that. That's a government system, which may be going to alter, but we'll wait for a budget on that. It's an archaic system, is the business tax system, and I do think it does need to sort of look at the modern world and how things are going, but we'll leave that for the Chancellor and not try and organise that at Craven. So on that note, Simon's already seconded it, but yeah, it's a budget, it's there. It means we can carry on running this council and doing the stuff we need to do into next year, and supporting ourselves through the recovery and through the Brexit, which may have disappeared under the radars, but it's affecting different people, different businesses and different things until they iron the bumps in the road if they can. So, but we're there, we're going to be there this year, and we're going to be supporting our community. So thank you, members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your contribution, Councillor Foster. Any other member wish to speak? There's no blue hands up, guys. So at this point, Councillor Mulligan, before we move to the vote, would you perhaps wish to respond to some of those points?
Thank you, Chairman. I would just first of all like to thank Richard Way and his team for the hard work. I agree with what's been said, that they have done this year in very difficult circumstances. And they've had to do a lot of additional work in terms of administering the business grants, etc. And it's been very successful. Thank you very much to our finance team. I'm quite proud that we are presenting a balanced budget. You know, this, given the government announcement yesterday, this could be the last budget we vote on at Craven District Council. And over the last several years, in spite of austerity, in spite of COVID, we've managed to keep the council on a sound financial footing. And I think I just want to thank everyone who's been involved in that, because it's other councils, as you've been hearing in the news recently, a number of councils across the country that are up against it, and the government's having to intervene to give some emergency financing to. We are not in that position, and everyone deserves credit at this council for that being the case. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, do you wish to add anything further to that comment from Councillor Mulligan?
I wasn't actually the seconder, but I will just like to thank Councillor Mulligan for doing the work he does as well on this. It keeps an eagle eye on our finances from a member's point of view.
Thank you. Right, at this point, I now ask the Chief Executive and the Chief Finance Officer if they wish to make any comments.
No
Chief
comments from me.
Executive,
No comments from me, Mr. Chairman.
Chief Finance Officer, any comments from that quarter?
Nothing further to add, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we'll now proceed to the vote. First, we will vote on the recommendations contained in minute policy 1119. So, Guy, could you perhaps take the recorded vote for that policy now?
Thank you very much. If you could indicate whether you wish to vote for, against or abstain. Councillor Barrett?
For.
Councillor Brockbank?
For.
Councillor Brown?
Abstain.
Councillor Foster?
For.
Councillor Hanley?
For.
Councillor Harbron? No. Councillor Heseltine?
For.
Councillor Hull?
For.
Councillor Ireton?
For.
Councillor Jackwin?
For.
Councillor Liz?
For.
Councillor Madeley?
For.
Councillor Mercer?
For.
Councillor Metcalfe?
For.
Councillor Morby?
For.
Councillor Morell?
For.
Councillor Mulligan?
For.
Councillor Myers?
For.
Councillor Noland?
Abstain.
Councillor Place?
For.
Councillor Pringle?
For.
Councillor Rose?
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth?
For.
Councillor Soloway?
For.
Councillor Staveley?
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe?
For.
Councillor Wheeler?
For.
And Councillor Whitaker? No, nothing from Councillor Whitaker. And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. So we'll now go to the recorded vote for the recommendations contained in the report of the Chief Finance Officer in relation to council tax levels. So, Guy, once again, can you proceed with that vote, please?
Thank you very much. Councillor Barrett?
For.
Councillor Brockbank?
For.
Councillor Brown?
For.
Councillor Foster?
For.
Councillor Hanley?
For.
Councillor Harbron? No. Councillor Heseltine?
For.
Councillor Hull?
For.
Councillor Ireton?
For.
Councillor Jackwin?
For.
Councillor Liz?
For.
Councillor Madeley?
For.
Councillor Mercer?
For.
Councillor Metcalfe?
For.
Councillor Morby?
For.
Councillor Morell?
For.
Councillor Mulligan?
For.
Councillor Myers?
For.
Councillor Noland?
For.
Councillor Place?
For.
Councillor Pringle?
For.
Councillor Rose?
For.
Councillor Shuttleworth?
For.
Councillor Soloway?
For.
Councillor Staveley?
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe?
For.
Councillor Wheeler?
For.
And Councillor Whitaker? No. Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Guy. So we'll now, members, move on to item 7 on your agenda, calendar of the meetings for 2021 and 22. A calendar of meetings for those 2 years, municipal years, has been presented for approval. Guy, do you wish to add anything to the report at this stage?
Just a brief word, if that's okay, Chairman, just to say that the calendar of meetings broadly follows the same pattern as it has done previous years. That there may be 1 or 2 exceptions. That's just if there's another event that's been booked at Bellevue Square. So it's intended that we carry on with remote meetings. If there's if the government regulations enable us to implement any change, then we have booked rooms at Bellevue Square. So we do have the facility to meet if we can. The only other thing to add is there is an option in the calendar of meetings to for the planning committee meeting to meet on a Wednesday. So at 4 o'clock, that picks up some of the issues that have been identified as part of the planning peer review. So that's something for members to consider. There's still the option to meet on a Monday at 1:30 if that's how members want to proceed, but that option is there. So I'll leave that for members to consider. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. As far as the planning committee is concerned, obviously they can think about the issue in the fullness of time at a later meeting. Any other member wish to debate this item? I've not got any blue hands up there, guys, so I will move adoption of the timetable. Perhaps I could ask Councillor Myers if he's willing to second it. I can't do both roles myself.
Of course he is, Chairman.
Thank you very much. So once again, Guy, we move to a vote. Is this a recorded vote or a show of hands?
I think for this item, it is just the calendar of meetings, so I don't think we need to take a recorded vote. So unless there's any objections from members, I'm happy that the members are okay with the calendar of meetings as presented.
Right. So when does that take me to from?
Councillor Ayrton's raised his hand, and so has Councillor Liz.
Oh yes, got two blue hands up. Councillor Ayrton, I think you were first.
I thought you'd call for a vote on raised hands, Chairman.
Yes, so did I, Chairman.
Perhaps you don't want us to vote that way. I don't know.
I think unless we have any objections to the calendar of meetings, I think we're okay to probably move on to item 8.
Well, we have to have a show of hands to go for it to go through.
Well, I think we've dealt with that one, members. Let's now move on, please, to item 8, statement from the leader of the council. Councillor Foster, once again with you.
Thank you, Chair. An awkward statement from the leader of the council. Start with coronavirus. We got down to a really low level of 40. We've had a couple of, as they call them, scenarios which have had outbreaks. Only small, but as we know, one figure in Craven counts as 1.75, so it's just risen back up. They're isolated in certain venues, so therefore we understand them. It's not in the community. I think that's the crucial thing to say, which it was really swirling around the community before. We seem to have got rid of that community transmission. So with the vaccine and everything else, and the rollout, which is going really well, Airedale beds are well down on what they were at the peak. So following on from what Boris said yesterday, Craven's in a good position really to carry on and start easing those lockdowns. How those will happen and how they'll happen in the area, I mean, we've obviously had the issues of last year with large amounts of guests and no businesses open and things like that. And it looks like we might be heading into that. So we'll be looking at each individual area, how to manage it. And there's also something coming to policy next week on getting additional help to do some enforcement on littering and other sort of antisocial things. So we'll see how that goes through policy, obviously, but just an idea of why that's coming really to try and manage those things. The other one, obviously, received it last night, was a letter from the government, or a letter from Robert Jenrick saying that local government reorganisation is definitely going ahead, and we've just moved into the consultation period. It was actually issued as a ministerial statement, a written one, and then after that we got given the letter and sent it straight around. Members didn't see any point in sitting on it. It's not for, no, it affects everybody and all parties. So there is problems. We've sort of gone into a bit of a purdah period now. And I'm going to, in a moment, ask the Chief Executive to explain a bit what that means. One of the things I would say is that district and county elections were cancelled. That was one of the things that was written in the letter. Town and parish can still go ahead, and the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner will go ahead. However, and also by-elections to vacant seats will be going ahead as well. So we've got, obviously, there's a county with Councillor Welsh. and Councillor Pighills, we have 2 seats on Craven that will have to have by-elections. I'll pass you over to Paul Shevlin now, if that's all right with you, Chair, to
No, that's fine, Hurst.
to explain sort of like the purdah we're in over local government reorganisation as a council.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Leader. So we sought advice from the MHCLG when we knew the consultation was potentially coming, and they said that the Code of Recommended Practice on Local Authority Publicity would apply during the consultation period. Consultation period started last night and it will end on April the 19th. So that will be we'll call it a purdah period, extending over that period of time. So what does it mean and what doesn't it mean? You'll be getting a more detailed briefing from the solicitor on this. However, what it means is that there can be no public, i.e. council resources spent on promoting any proposal above another proposal. The council has to play a very straight bat, if I can use a cricketing parlance, during this whole purdah period. What it doesn't exclude is any individual councillor using their own email system, their own website, and their own resources to promote one proposal or another proposal. That is entirely up to any member to take that action, indeed as you would during an election campaign. So that is exactly what would apply. Now, the restrictions only apply to the proposals. They don't stop any normal council business at all. They don't stop normal debates in the council chamber, policy committee, or indeed anywhere else. It's only with regard to the actual proposals and the local government reform to which Paul Rousel's and Robert Jenrick's letters referred. I'm very happy to answer any questions I can. I have an expert also in the room, so to speak, in Annette Moppet, who will pick up any legal issues which I can't possibly deal with. But that is it in a nutshell. As I say, we'll send you a more detailed briefing, or Annette will, in the next couple of days. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that contribution. I do have a question myself, and perhaps at this point I could ask the council solicitor if she A, wishes to add any further comments to yours, and B, could she perhaps clarify, when you say members use their own resources, can they use the council computers or do they have to use their own machines?
Thank you, Chair. I'll take that one. First, just to say I've nothing more to add other than I will be circulating a more detailed note, and after you've read it, if you've got any questions, please do contact me. No, you shouldn't be using any council equipment or your email addresses that would constitute council equipment.
Right, thank you for clarifying that. I've got Councillor Brown's got a blue hand up, so when you're ready, Councillor Brown, unmute yourself and proceed.
Just a very brief one on this. Can the council publicise the opportunity to comment in the consultation? Would we be inside our rights to run a campaign making citizens aware of their opportunity to feed in?
Absolutely right, Councillor Brown. Promoting that very issue, I think, is very important to businesses, to the public, to all interested parties, so that they can make their representations to MHCLG on the proposals that are on the table. So no problem in promoting that the proposals are there. The restriction is on promoting an individual proposal from the council's point of view. Certainly we'll be putting out messages on social media, press releases, encouraging people to respond to those proposals. Oh, could I just add as well, I know, Councillor Brown, that you've got a question further in the agenda. Clearly, I'm sure the leader has to be fairly careful in the way he answers that due to the purdah restrictions that are now in place. When the question was originally asked, of course, this purdah hadn't been introduced. So, and again, YouTube can be seen as use of council resources. So we have to be very careful in the way we actually treat this period of time.
Thank you for that, Paul. I notice I've got a blue hand up from Councillor Soloway now.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to ask a very similar question. Does that extend to, say, for example, a policy committee next week, a debate on a slightly related issue, and a member expresses their opinion one way or another? Have we got to be careful on that? I think we have.
You have to be careful in the council chamber, because again, that is using council resources, because don't forget, again, it's broadcast on YouTube. So members do have to be careful and mindful of this particular code. Yes, that is the advice that you will be given from Ms Moppet in written form, as I say, later this week.
Thank you. Councillor Soloway, does that answer your question? Presumably it does. I've not had any hands going up. Any other members wish to speak before we move to the next item on the agenda? Councillor Foster, I think you beat Councillor Myers by a short head there.
I better finish my statement now, in a way, Chair, if that's okay.
Fine.
I wanted that as much from me as for anybody else, really, because I wanted to be careful how I phrase the next bit that I said. It is really important that the message gets out there that this consultation is live. It needs to have the voice of the people of Craven. Other areas will do as they please, but I feel the people of North Yorkshire need to vote on what is going to be their local government and have their say. The way to do that is we direct you to both bids, the North Yorkshire and the East West bid. And from there is also a way of using a citizens portal on the government website. We really need to promote that round our residents to, if they have an opinion on this, I want to have an opinion on this, that is the place they have to write it. There's no point sending letters to MPs. It's the citizens portal is the place to put their comments. We as a council do get to comment on the North Yorkshire because it's being done to us. So there will be a point where we make a decision on that. And I'll leave it at that, really. It's for members, if they've got questions of me on this, that I can answer without doing anything against the programme, really.
Thank you, Leader. In that case now, Councillor Myers, you're next in the queue.
Yes, I'm very grateful for the guidance. And I do ask Moppet to keep an eye on me when my mouth runs away with me, not to trespass on this birder. I just like the public who are watching this to understand, of course, it is very important that they respond where they can to the consultation. But I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. They're not being consulted as to whether they want local government reorganisation. They're just being consulted as to which form they would rather have forced on them than the other. Is that right?
I would imagine it probably is, but who are you looking for to confirm that to you, Councillor Myers?
I thought the Chief Executive may be able.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Paul. Down to you again, please.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, that's right. They are being consulted on the two proposals. Although Mr. Jenrick does say in his statement that he would not go against overwhelming grassroots opinion. I'm sorry, I phrased that very badly, but he has said this has to be a local agreement in essence. So it's an interesting little paragraph worth reading in the information that you were sent last night. But in general, it is on the two proposals that you will get a chance to comment, especially on that portal.
Fine, thank you. Councillor Metcalfe, I've got your blue hand up next.
Would it be possible, I don't know whether who can answer this, how do we give the people in our wards the information on how to get to the citizens portal?
We'll be, sorry, Chairman, if it's okay with you, we'll be putting a lot out on social media, giving exactly that information and press releases. It will also be on our website, so that, and we happily send it round to all members so that they have that information, because that is the correct use of public resources, informing people of where they can go to actually register their opinion.
Yeah, thank you, because I know that's the first question that people in my ward will ask.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Metcalfe. Now I've just got one blue hand left, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I think it'd be silly if I ask question 10 at a later point. I think it's much more sensible if I comment now. First thing I want to say, though, is that the House of Commons continues to debate during purdah. It's a perfectly normal thing for MPs to kind of have discussions. So I think so long as we don't use council resources, I'd feel very uncomfortable about being constrained from expressing a view and having open debate amongst us as councillors who've been elected by the public to speak on their behalf. So the question I would ask is, I think, comfortable either way. Does the leader of the council agree with me that it would be outrageous to abolish Craven District Council without ever consulting the actual electors via the ballot box? And I can't ask you to make representations to the relevant minister to conduct a more genuine consultation exercise, because it's already underway. I think maybe just ask whether he agrees with me that stakeholder groups are a poor substitute for the ballot box.
Thank you very much for that. You mentioned the leader, Councillor Foster. Before I close on this item, do you perhaps wish to comment on that last question?
I haven't actually looked at the citizens portal to see what comments can be made on there, what's allowed to be made on there. I think we're in a situation where they're looking seriously at local government reorganisation in the 3 areas of the government. That's what the letter said. It's what their intentions have been as a government for a long time. Should it go to the ballot box? I'd have preferred it if it had. I do think that a lot of people this will pass them by, and suddenly local government will look different in North Yorkshire and they'll wonder why it's happened. But this is a situation they've used in other areas. It's not a new form of how to do this. And it appears to stick once it's been done. So we're in the situation we're in. The 2 proposals are there. We just need as many people as we can across Craven to voice opinions on the 2 proposals, and the potential for neither, I suppose, would be the other argument. It's a sad day we're losing Craven District Council. If either of these proposals goes forward, I think that's a sad day for all members. You know, we can balance a budget in the hardest of times. We can deliver services in the hardest of times. We can look after our public and make sure that all these things go forward in the hardest of times. We've shown how resilient we are. But there is a confusion with 3 tiers of government as well. I do see the counter argument, and it is an expensive way of running local government. These are debates that maybe we should have had first before going to unitary, but we appear to be coming at it from the other way around. So, or the government's coming at it from the other way around. So yeah, my answer is there's 2 proposals on the table. Let's get people to make a choice of which of those 2 proposals they do prefer. I do notice, Chair, that Councillor Jacquin is raising his hand, waving his hand.
Waiting to be.
Not on my screen,
Right.
it isn't. No. You'd have to use the remote one. I can see that. I can't see your left hand until you appear on my screen. Anyway, feel free now, yes.
Thank you. Just some clarification from the leader or even chief exec. The council elections for the district and the county have been cancelled. The police, fire, crime, parish and by-elections can go ahead. Are the district council proposing to have the 2 casual vacancies filled on the 6th of May? And if so, by vote or by co-option?
by
I haven't a
vote.
clue what the
It's,
answer to that would be, but I'm sure the leader will be able to tell you.
Thanks, Richard.
through you, Chair, it's by vote. By-elections are allowed to take place and need to take place because we cannot have areas without democratic representation.
On the 6th of May.
On the 6th of May.
Thank you.
Chairman, can I can't raise my hand on the PC.
I can see your right hand, Councillor Madeley, so feel free to speak.
Yeah. With this organisation of changing government has been going on since 1974, because when it first started, nobody agreed with anything, and it's been carried on, and we've been through this situation. It's finally come that district councils are going to disappear within North Yorkshire, and we haven't got a vote on it. You know, the leader of council was totally right. We haven't got a vote on it. We're just voting for which system we want to go forward to. And it's just because says it's happened in different places doesn't mean it's right. It's just beggars belief that the people of Skipton do not get a vote on keeping the council system they've got or having another system. But of course, nothing can be done because they have made the decision. It's just so annoying that we are, all the years we've been talking about it, we don't get a vote.
Thank you for that contribution. We've given this situation a good airing. So Paul Shevlin's had his hand up now for several minutes. I'm going to ask you to speak now, Paul, and then we'll move on to item 9 on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It's really just to actually read, to quote Robert Jenrick from his letter with regard to the actual work and the consultation. He says, I would reiterate that the government will not impose top-down government solutions. We will continue, as I am now currently doing, to follow a locally led approach where councils can develop proposals which have strong local support. So that just to clarify what I was saying to Councillor Myers for the record.
Right, I'm indebted to you for clarifying that, Paul. We've given this a good airing, a very generous 10 minutes, I think. So we'll move on now, members, to item 9. That's statement from lead members and chairmen of committee. First of all, lead members, does any lead member wish to speak tonight? No hands going up. So in that case, I'll move. No hands going up. I can't see Councillor Metcalfe, so when I haven't got a blue hand up. Oh, it's come up now, Sue. So yes, if you wish to speak, proceed now, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to thank, first of all, members for getting back to me regarding training requirements, and also a thank you to Guy Close and also Jackie Hodgson in HR. Basically, with the feedback I've had from members and the help from Guy and Jackie, hopefully we've come up with for the next 12 months, a really good training plan for to hit some of the key areas that members felt needed attention. So I won't go into any more detail because I've sent the email out, but I just wanted to say thank you for your help with that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, now we'll move on to, in the absence of any other lead member apparently wishing to speak, to the best of my knowledge, we'll move on to the Chairman of the Select Committee, Councillor Staveley. Do you wish to say anything tonight?
Yes, Chair, just to report the meeting of the 17th of February. We had presentations on the absence management report for staff and customer services call handling performance. As you can imagine, things are slightly skewed at the moment, as they have been for the last 12 months pretty much. Clearly, the imperative to work from home has highlighted some very positive benefits in terms of absenteeism and the ability of officers to work from home effectively, despite possibly being a little bit under the weather, dare I say. So that was a positive side to it. I think the one thing that really we took away from the meeting, which was something that's been raised every time we have it, really, is the benefit of the Oasis counselling. Obviously, this counselling service for staff. It's, you know, it seems a small thing, but it's clearly having positive benefits for our officers. And at a time like this, where all members of society are struggling in one way or another with the stresses of strains of lockdown and the pandemic and all the other pressures of life, our ability to provide this service for our staff is truly visionary. It really is. It's a good bit of practice that other large employers would do well to follow as an example if they don't already offer it. But yeah, very good was that, and that's about all I've got to say at this moment in time. Unless there's any questions from members.
Yeah, thank you for that contribution. As you say, any questions from members? I don't have any virtual hands up. I don't know if anybody's got a physical hand up. No, it would seem not. In that case, move on to item C, which is chairman of other committees. Would any committee chairman tonight like to make a statement? Seems like the answer is no to that question, Guy. So we'll move on to item D, council representatives and outside bodies. Anybody representing the council on such a body would like to make a statement? Again, no interest in that. So we'll now move on to item 10.
No. What about C? Sorry, could I just come back in there, Chairman?
Sorry, I didn't see your hand go up, and I couldn't see your physical hand if you're having a technical problem with your virtual one.
Yeah, well, I've got a physical one up. Thank you, Chairman. This is the opportunity to ask a chairman a question of the licensing committee. Is it possible to ask a question to Councillor Myers, please?
Did you hear that, Councillor Myers?
I love answering questions, Councillor Madeley. I know what it's about. Ask away.
Thank you very much.
Go on.
There is, we do know the timetable of where we think we are going to come out of COVID. And of course, most people have been affected and different sorts of businesses have been affected in different ways here. There's been the taxi drivers on different data and different reports that they average between 20 and 30 pound gross a day. That is what they that is what they're earning for the last year, basically. And people can get hopefully can get some grants to help themselves out. But what we've had, the licensing committee and the council are right that we need cameras in the cars. We've agreed that for the last couple of years, and it's been difficult to implement because of COVID. And the time is coming up in April 1st where all cameras should be in all taxis and they should be working. And there hasn't been a good take up yet for people to come and get the taxis cameras fitted. And because it's all down to a matter of cost and timing. The taxi drivers all agree that there should be cameras. Of course they do. It makes common sense, safety on every level. But it's the timing of it. If you earn 20 to £25, £30 gross, you're not earning a lot of money. And with the overheads where taxi drivers, housing, insurance, etc., you're not earning much at all. And to put this extra cost on at this present time would be, I think, the wrong thing, because taxi drivers have suffered more than most, because they are in cocooned within a taxi. It is the most risk to have a person in your car. And now, rightly, the council are asking to put these cameras in at the cost, but I just think of the right time isn't on the 1st of April. There's been different associations have written to us, and Tim has sent out the messages to if we could delay. And there's the well-known socialist MP for Keighley has even written to Ronnie Moore, to the council, to ask them to think again. I would ask the chairman and vice chairman to speak with members of the association to see if anything can be done.
Thank you for that contribution, Councillor Madeley. Councillor Myers, as chairman of that committee, would you perhaps wish to comment on those remarks?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Madeley. We have, I think at the tail end of last week, received correspondence from the various taxi firms and a petition signed by a large number of taxi drivers. We have undertaken to consider that at the next licensing meeting, which is on the 6th of April. And of course, we have always entered into dialogue with taxi drivers, as Councillor Madeley knows. And I think are always interested in being as fair as we possibly can. What I would say is it's very unfortunate, as everybody had notice of the agenda for the last licensing meeting in January, when this was going to be considered, that those representations weren't made to that committee. And it's very unfortunate that when Tim Chadwick, our licensing manager, has asked the trade for figures to show what their earnings have been during the pandemic, so that he could, in fairness, advise the committee they made a decision, those figures weren't forthcoming. So yes, we will consider it. It's very unfortunate that it takes until 4 or 5 weeks before it's due to come in, that we get these representations. But that won't preclude us from looking at them fairly, Councillor Madeley. You know we will. We don't wish to be unduly harsh on anybody. But one can only reiterate this. I think policy we agreed on about 3 years ago. It's been a long time in coming in. But we will look at it again in the light of the petition.
Chairman, could I ask just one more question to Councillor Myers, please?
Yes, feel free.
Simon, is the rules come in on the 1st of April?
Yeah.
And that is the problem. We don't have the meeting until the 6th of April.
Yeah, I think we.
Yeah, well,
I know out there in the public sometimes people think we're really unreasonable.
No.
But believe me, we are not going to start enforcing the policy the 1st of April, knowing that we have a meeting on the 6th. So I will speak to the solicitor, and I'm sure we'll come to a sensible accommodation. In fact, it's very unfortunate that the petition didn't come in sooner, because it could have been considered by this full council meeting. But anyway, there we are. That's the way it's coming.
It wasn't a
Councillor
question.
Madeley, do you wish to come back?
Yeah, well, just very quickly, yeah. I just don't want any action taken against taxi drivers until we have that meeting on the 6th of
As
April.
I say, Councillor Madeley, do you honestly think that the licensing department are going to start enforcing it when they know we're going to consider the situation 5 days later? They will not.
No,
They
it
will not.
doesn't.
Just a minute, one speaker at a time, please. Councillor Myers, have you finished?
Yeah, well, I think we've both finished because I trust Councillor Myers implicitly, and he's the fairest man on the council. And I should have asked the question, but it's there to be asked.
Oh, don't worry. No, I quite understand why you've asked it, Councillor Madeley, and it will, of course, be of great interest to all those members who don't do licensing. But they would do well to reflect. I'm glad you've given me the opportunity to flag this up. The most watched council meeting on YouTube is not contentious planning or exciting policy. It's actually the licensing about that.
Yeah, people should get out more.
Right, thank you. I think it's time to draw this to a close. Thank you for your contribution, Councillor Myers, and thank you for your comment about the Planning Committee having lesser audience than your committee. But in your email at the time, I do remember that you said you told better jokes on the Licensing Committee. So we'll leave it on that note, if you don't mind, members, and move on to the penultimate item, which is general question statement time. And Councillor Brown has already notified us of a question he wishes to put to the leader. So if
Already
you're ready,
done, Chair.
Councillor Brown, could you proceed?
Already done, Chair, no need.
Have you? So there's no further item to discuss there. Well, in that case, we've now got to item 11, which is any other items. Do you have any other items notified to you? May I inquire, Guy?
There are no other items to consider, Chairman.
Well, on that note, then, members, I think I'll close the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance tonight. And